the Jake Paul fight. Can we just talk about this event? What this feels like is a live broadcast, like that format and what that looks like. But then I saw that like whoever produced this or directed it and wrote it was like, how do we take Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok? How do we take those elements and the what makes those work? And how do we fit it in this traditional model of broadcast? Cameras on red, ready, 1, 3, 2, 1, and camera, 1, action. All right, we're back, boys. Hello, Moes. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Little known fact, everyone got hammered by snow, not hammered as in drunk, hammered by snow. Aurelia didn't, so I'm laughing. I can chirp my friends. I can chirp you. Only place in the province without snow right now, so suck on that.
Yeah, it's great. You know, we went into another stay-at-home order, I think last week or week and a half ago. It was 4 weeks. Then we wake up a week later and they've extended it 2 more weeks to make it 6 weeks total, meaning I think around mid-May or end of May, we are supposed to be free. Don't know if that's actually still happening or not.
I've heard that story before.
So we get that info, and then all of a sudden we wake up this morning to 2 inches. What is it? 2 inches of snow, it looks like? Like, what the? I mean, my mental health has just been fucking skyrocketing downwards. It's just disastrous. I thought maybe with the good weather and the lockdown it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but fuck, we're a bit screwed. But Mose, on a more positive note, I'm gonna have to pump my own tires here. I'm gonna have to like boost myself up because like I'm one given guy to you. I have to say, I see the smile on your face.
I love this. Let's jump straight in.
But I got you a couple things of work. I don't know if we can talk about them exactly, the details, but maybe we can bleep it out after. So why don't you walk through like what's going on right now within your world of creativity?
I'm getting hammered by client projects, and it's a great feeling. After jumping into this quarantine, we were feeling great right before, making a lot of money. I'm thinking this freelance thing's really the way to go. And then COVID said no. COVID said, fuck you. But no, it's turned around recently. I got Netflix banging down my door for a pitch that I'm doing with a buddy named Will. And I told him after I got it, I said, listen, you're referring me to some work, but you have competition.
Exactly. Well, why don't we start breaking down a little bit? So my girlfriend is coming out with an ebook. She's a fitness influencer. Really happy for her. It should be coming out in the next, I don't know, 2 weeks or something, 3 weeks. Really excited for her, and obviously she needs her stuff edited in a design sense, so I hooked her up with Mose, who's a killer, and also with the company I'm working with, Gladiator. We're just redoing the landing page to just, you know, help with e-commerce sales, which Mose is a bit of a whiz about. No one knows, but, you know, we talk sometimes, and I figured, you know, maybe he let people know and put the work out there. We're still waiting for his Instagram to, you know, actually show who he is more, but that's fine. What has it been, like 3 years since your last post?
Disaster. Dude, social media is terrible for you. Social media is the new smoking.
Listen, I have a question because we were talking about one of the projects, which we won't mention which one, and Moes was talking about like a concept tax. I didn't really understand this, so can you just break that down a little bit?
Okay, so I got it was for this ebook that I'm working on, just polishing. And I jumped into this project and I was like, wait, I don't have to come up with anything. Like, it's not my job to like come up with the concept of how this is going to look. Like, all of the work was pretty much done. I just had to jump in and just make stuff look better. If my job was only making stuff look better, it would be twice as easy, 3 times as easy. It's when you have to make stuff where things get complicated. So that's where the concept tax is coming in. I want to start charging people. If I have to make an idea, 20% tax on whatever you thought it's going to be. That's the concept tax.
Right. But obviously it's not a tax. It's just like extra work. Because I feel like where I agree with you is like coming up with a concept is no joke, right? Like it's not, you don't just come up with it instantly, right? Like you're brainstorming, you're writing out ideas, then you take a day off and you come back to it and then you like reframe those ideas. Then you think like they're good, like you have a pretty finalized version of what you want to do, and then you share it with people and get external like opinions on it. And then from there you weigh those options, go back to the drawing board, maybe take a day off and look back at it with fresh eyes. And then you eventually it seems like, I mean, depending on the project, it can take upwards to a week or 3 months to come up with a concept, right? I know with the project you're talking about, like this is not a project that was just established, last week. This has been thought about for months. So
3 months, yeah.
for 3 months.
Grinding
So
on it when I had no clue what was going on.
right. So I feel like yeah, for you it's just like you just got it's on Canva doing it, so a little less comprehensive than Photoshop, what you're used to. But at the same time, it's like you just have to come in and make it look pretty, which is like arguably I think what I don't know if it's what you're best at, but you're really good at it. I don't know what you're better at, concept building or I think you're really good at concept building actually. But let's just say they're even. Like it's still you're really skilled at it, and it's a lot easier and a lot less brain power and like stress and critical thinking. So I feel like it's definitely an easier job for you.
It makes me think I would absolutely crush at like art direction or creative direction role in an agency. If you had people under you, like I could do that work all day. I could just crush all that work
Like
all
conceptual
day.
thinking.
No. Having people send work to you that's like 60 to 70% of the way there before it's like really good. And I see this all the time on social media. I'll be scrolling through and I was like, oh, that's almost there. Like if you tweaked one or two things, that would just be stellar. But you didn't
Well,
because you
here's
didn't
the
see
thing
it.
with what you're saying. That's like every single millennial and zoomer, the way they think is like, I could have done that, or like, oh, if you just put me in this position, I'd be able to do this. But it's like all the people in those positions who make those like executive last 25% of the project calls or work, it's like they were the ones doing the grunt bullshit work that like you're like, oh, well, I mean, I don't have like people think like I don't have to do that to then get there. Like they don't I feel like there's that disconnect of understanding that to get to that point, you have to do the shit that that person who's doing their work, the last 25%, they spent years doing the first 75% and then got there.
You know what the real grind is? The real grind is when you show up for work for a 6 o'clock shift and there's a 6:30 basketball game. And they're like, hey, listen, we don't have a promo or anything. Like, can you just whip something up quick? Like that is the grind.
Yeah, come up with a concept and then like execute it in 30 minutes. Thank
We
you.
we
Bye. I
needed
know
yeah, we needed it 30 seconds ago, but just work as quick as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's the line that always gets me. It doesn't have to be perfect.
it doesn't have to be good. You don't have to like it.
What are
The
what are
worst.
we posting it for in the first place if this doesn't have to be good? What
Hey,
are we doing, guys?
content is king, Mose. You have to remember that. But yeah, I don't know if it's a tax, but it's definitely something when you take on a project, I think you charge less when there's not the concept building part of it, but then when you have to come up with the idea as well, that's when it's more. So, but I wonder though, how do you
Right.
like negotiate that in the deal and whatnot? Like, what does that look like, and how does a client, a potential lead, hear that and go, oh yeah, I agree, that makes sense. Because I feel like some people come into a videographer or designer, they're like, that's just what they do. They come up with concept. So why would they charge more? It just seems like that's just what their job is.
Yeah. I mean, the education piece is a big part of it. My favorite quote is skilled labor ain't cheap and cheap labor ain't skilled. Great quote. I think a mechanic said it. Like it wasn't even a creative thing. But yeah, I don't think people who don't do this underestimate how difficult it is to like churn out ideas and more so understand how to translate somebody else's idea or business or brand into something that is going to convert or it's going to do numbers and it's going to look good as well. Like there's pieces that compete against each other. And concepts kind of have to bridge that gap between the business and the creative and all of those other things.
Right. So like we also wanted to touch on like the Jake Paul fight and stuff, and then we have a couple other topics. But I'm also
What a
wondering.
letdown. Oh
I'm
my God.
It's a letdown. We'll get into that in a little bit later. And I was completely wrong with my call of Ben Askren winning. What I was wanted to bring up though is like you're doing web design work with Gladiator, who's a brand I'm working with. I kind of want to touch like I'm so interested in an e-commerce landing page because a lot of their sales go through their website selling online, some in person, but it's mainly in line, no storefront. I want to talk a little bit about the breakdown you gave Dom, the Gladiator founder, like what makes a good landing page. And I feel like it's something that I also have to talk to Gina about her ebook like sales. Like what is that landing page? What is that place where people land to go purchase? Like can you break down like what makes a successful landing page?
Okay, great landing pages do a couple things. I think the point that underscores all of them is that it's so hard to drive somebody to click on your landing page in the first place that you just can't really afford to waste those clicks. So with that in mind, like a good landing page, let's just back up. Let's start by defining what it is. I think a landing page is not a website. Those two things are not the same, although they might live in the same place. A landing page is just the product page that sits in between an ad, most likely, or a link that drives somebody to purchase and their final checkout.
Wait, can you explain that? It sits between an ad?
Yeah. So most of the time in e-commerce, right? Like they're getting a lot of the demand for the product through social ads, through paid advertising. And it's not always organic. Sometimes it can be. But for the most part, it's being driven through an ad. And that ad will take you to a landing page. So it's not the homepage of a website. It's not the about section. It's not the team section. This page has been specifically designed to get someone from landing on this page to the checkout in the quickest, easiest, most seamless way possible. Like that's really the high level definition. And then there are like 5 sections that we can jump into later on. Do you have any questions about that?
Well, I kind of wanted to get into the design aspect because you're not like a web developer, like you're not into the whole code scene. Like I know you want to kind of start getting in there, but you're more of a designer. And when you shared me the Notion page where you broke down like what makes a successful landing page, you referenced Hydrant. There was another company that has this like spray for the toilet if like for like after you take a poo, and it makes it less like stinky. Imagine that elevator pitch, like what we sell. Oh, we're a poo-purry and we're here to limit your poo stink in your, like, how do you fucking pitch that without sounding like a complete ass? Like, it's so funny.
No
Anyways,
pun intended.
you linked a bunch of these funny pun. You mentioned you referenced a couple of these examples, and when I scrolled through all of them, you put like 5 links there. I went through all of them, and it's insane how they're all the exact same with minor tweaks depending on their brand and what like their statement, like what their mission statement is and their goals are.
Right.
Unbelievable. Like I want you to break down like what that looks like, because it goes in like hero product, hero image, and then it comes like testimonial, and then there comes like, you know, comparison, and then there's another product, and then so on, so on.
Right. So it's it's a great point. I think you're right. It's insane how little, like, the content for each website is different, but for all intents and purposes, the formula that they follow could be the exact same every time. And that's partly why this is going to go on a tangent. It's partly why I think web design is at the same time one of the most challenging things because it matters a lot, and also one of the easiest things to do because all of it is so templatized. And the formula is really simple. There's 5 kind of sections to a good landing page. There's the hero section that you land on, followed by a why section about the company, how the product actually works right underneath that, a buy section as the 4th section, and then testimonials and user proof as the section below that. And all of that is really designed to educate the customer. I think the best way I've heard it described is if you had to pitch your product to a 12-year-old with this landing page, like, would they understand it? Or if you were walking home with your buddies and you were all like coming home from the bar and you were tired and you were drunk, like, would they understand what you're selling? So you're basically just trying to simplify everything, and you do that with how the page is designed, right? That's the organization piece. But I think design only goes as far as the copywriting as well. Like, the copy has to be super solid. It has to be super simple. And going back to that 12-year-old point, right? Like, you need it to be so direct and simple and clear that a 12-year-old could jump on your page and say, oh, this is what your product's about. This is who it's for. And this is why I should buy it. And if you can't answer those 3 questions within the first 3 to 5 seconds of them landing on the page, I think you're losing a lot of potential sales.
Right. And I mean, it's so funny that like all the links you provided were like the same, and it raises the question for me where a customer isn't stupid. People aren't stupid. I think the saying is like a person is smart, a group of people are stupid. But like everyone's individually going on a website, so an individual person is smart by that statement I just made. You look at one page, you're like, okay, cool, I see this. It leads me down the selling path. And then I go to another page and I'm starting to realize like, oh, all these e-commerce brands I want to buy from are the same. Are they tricking me? Is this like what's their differentiating factor? Like, it just feels like you're buying from the same place, but different products. Does that weigh into the conversation when creating a landing page where are we just copying what's working, or should we try and find new ways to find what's working? Like, where's that discussion when creating this design?
I think that is secondary to, does the page convert or not? Because with e-commerce, I think the margins are so tight. Even with we don't have to get into specific numbers with Gladiator, but like the business is going to survive as long as they keep moving product and selling product. So you can be original, you can have your point of difference, you can separate yourself from your competitors, but at the end of the day, like that landing page, when somebody lands on there, going back to that, we've talked about it, I've brought it up in previous episodes, the lazy, selfish, and vain metric. You have to kind of satisfy those really primal needs in a person within the first 5 seconds of them landing on a page. And all of the stuff that we've discussed with how that landing page is set up, that is all specifically designed to hit on those things and make it seamless, so that if I land on a landing page from an ad or from wherever, I know exactly what the product's about. I know if it's for me or not, and I know why their product's better than their competitors. And all of that is done with how it's designed and how the copy is laid out.
Well, on top of that, I also want to talk about, people aren't dumb, customers aren't stupid. Like, I'm starting, like, my way of when I go shopping is when I land on a landing page or a shopping page, there's always the price. Now it's discounted at this. I'm like, okay, it's not a discount. It's just what they do to make you feel like you're getting a deal. So they're like pretty much not lying, but they're not telling the truth.
Right.
And then on top of that, all the social proof customer reviews. A lot of these times I'm reading customer reviews or seeing stars. I'm like, is this real? Where's the verification? Is this false advertisement?
Right.
And sometimes I think, who are these reviews? Are these people who are like in bed with the company? Like, I don't know how you create something in a design or as a marketer where you're actually truly authentic. Do you have to require customized customer reviews, not just customer reviews? Like, what do you think about that? Like, do you really believe everything you see when you land on a landing page?
Absolutely not. I think most people would be naive if they thought that. But another, well, I want to be more specific. I think you or me or a lot of people our age can see that. I don't think that we speak for every age demographic and population out there, because I know a lot of people who are older than us, like they see that and they take it at face value, which, I mean, part of me thinks that's kind of scary. With the piece on the authenticity, and I think what you're speaking to is that, like a lot of places in our digital lives, like there's a real lack of trust. Like anyone can write anything, anyone can post anywhere, anyone could make a landing page or sell a product. That doesn't mean that any of what they're saying is true. One interesting innovation that I've seen in the space recently is that there's a company that is, I don't know how to describe them. I'm trying to find the words here. They are using vertical video, and they're getting testimonials and social proof from people that work at the store, from actual clients and people that buy the product. And they're embedding that straight on the website, and they're making it as easy as recording or shooting a video on TikTok and then uploading it. Like they take care of all the back end stuff, all of the video optimization stuff. Really, all you have to do is find the person that's going to be on the video. And what I think that's solving for is that there is a lot more trust baked into a video than there is from just seeing a static image or seeing some copywriting. So I think it's Try Hero maybe. I could be wrong on that. We'll definitely link it in the description. But I guess the larger piece, or just to summarize this, is that in a lot of ways, I think that social proof and the customer reviews, and that piece of the lack of trust is being solved by video, which is really interesting to see, because we're going to start to see that some of these websites are going to more closely resemble our social feeds than a website, I guess, which is really, really interesting to see for me.
Right, because video, and especially vertical video, we've talked about in the past, like vertical video screams user generated, real, authentic
Right.
person. Even if it is like clearly shot on a nice camera, it does scream authentic. It screams like, oh, it's shot on an iPhone. It was, it's not staged, it's not lit and mic'd up. It's just like a real testimonial. And that's I think one problem with just high quality content to sell a product. What that screams is, oh, there's a light, there's a producer, there's like a camera guy. So what do you expect the person giving the testimonial to say? They're obviously going to say highly regarded claims about the brand or the product. They're not
Right.
just going to say
Right.
this is shit or it's, man, it's good here, but this is where it sucks. They're always going to say it's good. So I guess, I mean, where I think you're going is not just vertical video, but user generated videos where a user kind of just says like, this is how I feel about it. And
Right.
maybe it's not in a way where they're holding a selfie. It's like they're in the product, let's say, and someone's filming them like without them realizing they're being filmed, with them talking about it and what they think.
Right. And the other big piece of it as well is that I know for some of these sites, they're actually repurposing the I don't know what to call them because I didn't work one of these jobs, merchandiser or in-store associates. And like with COVID, right, you're not getting a lot of foot traffic in these retail stores. So they're taking those people that would typically be on the floor and they're just having them as customer service people for the e-commerce site so that if you have a question about a t-shirt size, I can literally pull up a chat. We've seen this earlier with chatbots where you could like pull up a chat box and then you're kind of in a messenger and you're typing, how does this fit? Is this medium true to size? Well, now they've taken that one step further and they have in-store associates, like I said, you hit that chat box thing and it pops them up in a video and you could talk to them asynchronous or you could talk to them live and say like, how does this fit? And they could say like, oh, this is the tour of the store and whatever. Which I think that live piece is really important because you can't fake that trust. Like that person's there. All of their time is dedicated to you in that moment. And it's just one of those ways that you're kind of closing that trust gap when you're a customer. And I think like I don't have the data to say if it works or not, but I would imagine if I'm a shopper, I'm going to feel way more comfortable making a purchase if I know that there's somebody who's there specifically taking care of my needs.
I kind of want to transition to something a little more fun, like the
Can
Jake
we
Paul
talk about
fight.
this Triller fight?
Can we just talk about this event? The first thing I want to say though is we come from like a broadcast background at a school. A lot of our work and stuff we did in class was around live shows,
Right.
live events, sporting, live shows like, all those talk shows you see. Very similar stuff is what we do. So when I was looking at the event and like we watched it on Zoom together, and I was like, what this feels like is a live broadcast, like that format and what that looks like. So you have like, someone talking, breakdown, analysis, and then you have people doing entertainment in the middle, whether that's like, testimonials, walking around playing jokes around. Then you have like performances, music or whatever, dance, and then you also have the main product, which is the fighting. And that's like an average, online sports show, especially a big event such as this. But then I saw that like whoever produced this or directed it and wrote it was like, how do we take Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, how do we take those elements and what makes those work and fit it, that model, which is a very specific niche general model to social media, and how do we fit it in this traditional model of broadcast? How do
It
we
was the
include
strangest thing to watch in the world.
the weirdest thing? Because it wasn't even valuable entertainment or quality from a social media like model, because they just had some influencers just there standing. They had like Charlie D'Amelio, Dixie D'Amelio, Addison Rae just like standing around after fights, just like holding a belt and just standing there. You know what I mean? Like it's like
It
they're not.
was so weird.
There was no value besides people going, oh, yo, they have like 150 million followers combined on TikTok or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like there's no like they're not adding anything besides
It was
people
like
going,
a
"Whoa, they're
social
famous."
signal thing. It was like, oh,
Very
these
weird.
people are really famous and it means something for them to be there, so you should care about our thing.
So,
But
yeah.
I want to go back to the pitch thing because we were talking about this as the fight was going on. We're like, this had to pass multiple levels of approval, and some guy in one of these meetings said, we're gonna do the TikTok thing, but we're gonna do it in a live event, and everyone went crazy, and it looked like this guy was the best idea in the world.
Like
Like this guy got a promotion from this.
he was in the boardroom. He's just like, hear me out. Live broadcast, but TikTok. And then like he just drops the mic. Everyone just stands up clapping. Like this guy is a genius or whatever. Like it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Didn't that pay-per-view sell like 1 million copies?
Well, here's what's so confusing to me because everyone our age that I talked to pirated the thing, but apparently it sold huge pay-per-view. So I'm just
I'm
confused.
gonna look this up real quick, but I also want to mention not just like having TikTok influencers, because I didn't want to just go TikTok, which is where you went. I meant social media, because they had Pete Davidson and Jack Harlow at the event as well. And what they were doing is just they had a camera following them and they were trolling Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Like Pete
I love
Davidson,
that you brought this up. I love that you brought
it
this
was like
up.
a Nelk Boys style video where Pete Davidson went in there. He's like mic'd up and with the camera, and went up to like Jake Paul. He's just like, "Hey man, how's it going? Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. So, do you want to maybe talk about that like sexual assault allegation you had? Like, what? He's just Jake Paul's about to walk out like in like 30 minutes, and this guy's
Like the bit was like, let's make this guy as uncomfortable as he possibly can be before his fight.
it's a prank. It's a prank. Chill. It's a prank, bro. That's what
And I
it felt
love
like.
that you brought this up because Jake Paul's dad basically said that he wants to stab Pete Davidson in the throat with a set of chopsticks because he's like, he was ambushed. That was brutal. I can't believe we okayed that. Like all this. And it's just hilarious, all the fallback from this. And also to see, because you had a certain crowd of people say like, oh, it was so good that he brought this up. Like we should be taking these allegations seriously. Fuck Jake Paul. I could care less what Jake Paul's doing. I'm just going to hate him anyway. And then you have people on the other side, the different crowd saying like, what was Pete Davidson's deal? This event was shit. It made Jake look bad, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like you could not get more different reactions from all of the people that watch this. Oh, you had the people like my dad's age saying this shit was rigged. I want my money back. I can't believe Ben Askren fell from a punch like that. It was crazy. Like this, for everything that they did wrong, this event did exactly what it was supposed to do. It got traction and
worked.
buzz. Yeah.
And that's the YouTube model and the content model, at least what we can see in North America, is like negativity sells.
Right.
Toxicity sells. And that's what pretty much social media tends to, like, the most viewed stuff tends to be drama, pranks, just people being dickheads is pretty much what it is. And they try to fit that into this show. So we just listed TikTok. So they had the TikTokers just around. And if you look at TikTok content, most of the content literally is just the TikToker playing a song, and they're just like,
the faces.
like looking hot and like looking cool. They're all good looking. They did that exact model in the broadcast. They just stood there looking great.
I was
Guys
surprised
and
we didn't see Snoop Dogg making a dot, or what's the lips? The duck lips, the duck lip selfie, just blanked on that.
And then you furrow your brow. So let me finish this. So you got the TikTok there we just explained.
Right.
Then you got the YouTube model, which is like this vox pop where like you go around like interviewing people, and it's more of like a prank, very similar to Nelk Boys, very trolly.
But also kind of felt traditional broadcast, right? Like they had the cameras
Slightly.
that
Yeah.
like a little bit. They're blending a lot of things. Keep going.
So you got the TikTok, we got the YouTube with Pete Davidson. Also on top of the YouTube thing, this is what blew my mind. They in one of the segments they had Pete Davidson commentate and talk about a slap boxing event.
Wait, no. He was there. It was Ric Flair commentating.
Sorry, Ric Flair.
Flair was there. It looked like his heart might have exploded. He was more red than I don't even have a good reference. He didn't look great. He looked like he just got brought out of retirement, and they're like, we're gonna pay you a couple $1 million for 32 a minute of you commentating this slap. It was the most insane thing.
So they brought in Ric Flair because of the meme, the woo meme, which is like you hear it at every sporting event, especially UFCs. Like when people are and when the fight's going on, you'll just hear the crowd screaming woo, all this shit. So they have the YouTube with the prank troll shit on top of the slap boxing, which is like, if you look on YouTube slapbox match, they have like millions and millions and millions of views, these matches. So they're like, oh, we should put this in this boxing event because on YouTube they do well. So this
drives traction.
And they had Pete Davidson commentating it, like talking about it with Ric Flair going woo and all this shit. Then on top of that, where I believe that they incorporated all of social media is they had on Instagram, there's a guy called The Sign Guy, we all know, holds up a cardboard sign making like, like political commentary or like social commentary on like America and the world.
Right.
They had him there literally just with like, he probably brought like 10 different signs. Like imagine this guy walking into the event. He's like, hey, I'm just the sign guy. He gets his like badge. He's like holding like 10 fucking cardboard like sticks. He's probably brought empty ones to draw new signs on if something in the moment happened, which I kind of love, but they incorporated Instagram in that way. They just had him in the background randomly just holding a sign up.
You're saying they touched every single base that you could.
Touched
They got
everything.
him.
TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Okay,
Hilarious.
here's my follow-up question. And you can bracket it. I don't need a number specifically. How many $1 million did they spend to get all of these people in this event at one time,
Are we including the fighters?
including the fighters? Yeah,
Oh, easily like
all of these
10
influencers.
million. Has to be 10
I
million.
thought it was going to be higher. I thought it's closer to 15 to 20. And here's the reason that I say it. This is the one kind of basing it loosely off the size of these people and the dollars they're commanding in the influencer space. But this was the kicker for me, and this is my sense of why it wasn't 10 million. They sold the NFT of Jake knocking out Ben for 10 million. That tells me they need to recoup their losses in some way, and it's got to be more than 10 mil because they're going to get all that money from pay-per-views.
MMA Fighting said that they sold over 1 million pay-per-views.
What was the pay-per-view? 20 or 50? How expensive was it?
It was $50 per pay-per-view, and they sold over 1 million. So that's $50 million in revenue just on pay-per-view, and it was more than 1 million. It was a little bit over, but actually it says SB Nation quoted it at 1.45 million buys on pay-per-view. Just take that in. That's like
crazy.
Conor McGregor numbers. I'm not kidding. Like that's
Crazy.
like, imagine if Conor McGregor fought Jake Paul, how insane that would be. Oh my God, the sales.
Insane.
But you said it
one thing that we didn't mention. They had Rolling Loud and Coachella merged together in the middle of this event. We had Doja Cat, we had Justin Bieber, Saweetie, Ice Cube, Snoop. Like they had at least 7 to 10 like A-list musical acts,
and it went
in the middle of this event,
and it went too long.
It went way too long,
dude. It was
we were
like
sitting there and we were like, "What? When is this end? Who is coming on next?"
Yeah, we thought it was gonna be Jake Paul versus Ben Askren next, and then this 30-minute performance with several artists gets finished, and then they go into Pete Davidson stuff, and then they go into the co-main event, which are these real boxers who are incredible,
right?
And then they go back to more fucking shows and like random content, and then Jake Paul finally walks out at like 12:30 a.m. It was ridiculous.
I have a mini game to play, then we can move on. I want to play winners and losers of the event. My hot take right now, Ben Askren, a winner of the event, secured the bag for, in his last 2 fights, I would bet that his take home is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 1.5 mil. And here's your reminder, these fights lasted together combined probably less than a minute. Like he's doing well. So Ben's a winner in my book there. Other people to talk about. Snoop Dogg. Was he a winner or a loser in your mind? I feel like people love Snoop Dogg commentating anything.
Well, I just gotta fact check you real quick here. Sorry about that.
Here we go. Here's the MMA Hardo.
So I heard you say it was his last fight was the Jorge Masvidal knockout. It actually wasn't. It was when he fought Damian Maia, and he lost through like a rear naked choke from the back. So it wasn't.
Nobody's gonna know either of those people.
And that lasted 3 rounds. Okay, so anyways,
sorry, put some respect on Ben Askren's name. Is he a winner or loser in your mind?
I think he's over like net. He's a winner, but it is really embarrassing getting knocked out by Jake Paul, especially because he's just a fucking boxing influence. He's an influencer who's a boxer who's like he's a good boxer, but by any stretch of the imagination, to call him like a even close to pro level boxer is like a joke.
Well, that's what these TikTok kids are doing.
Well, what do you mean they're doing?
They're calling him the next McGregor.
That's seen a problem.
TikToks,
but it gets sales, and that's what's great.
Yeah. Well, people were saying that before the fight. Like Kyle, we watched the fight with Kyle, and he said he had a great take. He said that Jake was going to win. He didn't predict it in the first round, but he said there's so much interest behind the scenes in making sure this winning streak keeps going on that if this goes to decision, like Jake will win.
Well, there is like a rich history of corruption in boxing, and you saw it a few years back. I think it was like Canelo versus I forget who he fought, but it went to decision. I believe Canelo won, and it was in Mexico with the Mexico Athletic Commission, and like he shouldn't have won. I'm not sure. I'm gonna get fact checked on that. I don't exactly remember if it was Canelo and who he was fighting, but it was like such a clear rip job by like the commission because they don't make money if certain fighters lose. because
Right.
they need the streak to keep going so that, they make money.
Good
And the
for
same thing goes in
business.
MMA with a lot less corruption. Conor McGregor, okay? In 2014, he beat Dustin Poirier for the first time. Max Holloway, I think it was 2014, 2013. He was on this big winning streak. And then moving into the new year of 2015, from 2014, a lot of those wins, he was given a fight in 2015 January against Dennis Seaver. And I've talked about this with people before. Dennis Seaver was like, he's a good fighter, but he's an old guy. He's stiff. He's not like the best fighter. And Conor McGregor's this up and coming side. Conor McGregor eats him alive for like 3 rounds. The full game. He outboxed him, outstruck him with kicks, took him down, passed his guard, and just kicked his ass on top. Like, incredible ground and pound. So he wins that fight against a pretty unworthy opponent. He's a good opponent, but like compared to McGregor's skill, not that good.
Right.
McGregor jumps out of the cage of that fight, runs into the crowd where Jose Aldo is, the current champion at that time, gets in his face and is screaming, "Era!" which is like Ireland in like their native tongue. Then the next fight, scheduled for the summer, Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor, when there was
Boom.
all these other fighters who deserved the fight. Not all these, but there was other fighters that deserved the fight more. But what's going to make the UFC money? Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, the biggest fight of the year. Jose obviously gets hurt. He has to fight Chad Mendes instead, and then we see him knock out Jose in December. It's like the UFC they handpick, they give certain fighters certain fights so that they continue the win streak, continue making money. So it's a bit of a dirty game. It's not really a meritocracy for the most part, but that's just what fighting is. It's prize fighting. It's money fighting.
I love it. And that's why Jake Paul, like, regardless of how you feel about him as a boxer, I would say he's net positive for the overall sport because he's gonna bring such a groundswell of attention to the sport. I want to get back to winners and losers here. Who do you think was the biggest loser from this event?
I don't think there was a loser. I really don't think there was
Influencers got paid, musicians got paid, Ben got knocked out, Jake winning streak still alive.
I mean, the only loser I can think of is like Ben Askren obviously losing. I think net he won if we're looking at big picture for his whole life, he won. But
Right.
like short term and like the memes and like his credibility as a fighter, it's just kind of the general public's going to look at him in a negative manner. But I mean, man, who's the loser? I couldn't tell you one loser. Everyone I think looked good.
Well, no, here's my loser because I have one actually. Ice Cube, love the guy to death. He was on many pregame hockey playlists. We were watching this guy perform, and I don't know how old he is, but he's definitely out of his prime. This guy ran out of breath midway through his
notice that.
song.
No, he didn't.
He did. Like he was running out of breath, and I'm pretty sure they were lip syncing it. So I think it might have been the physical activity. I don't want to rip on this guy.
No, he was definitely not lip syncing because when I was watching, like it sounded like his real voice, and he did not sound good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it was a tough look. He was a bit out of his prime, but he got the bag, so he's not really losing. The one last thing that I want to touch on, then we can move on. Snoop Dogg. I got to bring him up again. After the fight was over, I love that this guy was screaming into his mic, "Dana White, where's my money? Where's my bag? I want my bag. Hire me for the UFC." I think Snoop Dogg, in my mind, was the biggest winner of this event because I think that might not be next fight, might not be next card, but eventually I think Dana White is going to give him that bag, and we win as consumers as well because we get to hear this guy at the UFC.
Well, Dana White put that $1 million bet that Ben Askren wins. Snoop Dogg came back at him and said, "I'll put $2 million down for Jake
Oh, that's
Paul
what it
winning."
was about? I thought
That's
he was
what it was
saying,
about.
"Give me the bag," as in like
No.
hire me for the UFC.
No. There was like an
We're gonna have to
ongoing
cut
bet.
all this because I sound
online.
like an idiot.
Well, yeah, you're a little out of the loop.
I'm out of the loop,
You
out
come
of the
to
fight
all
loop.
the tabloid shit. But he was also a winner because his performance was unbelievable. Like he sounded so good. He's the smoothest guy of all time. Like he's an all timer. Snoop Dogg, unbelievable. He won the bet against Dana White. I don't know if they shook on it or not. And he also, with his great performance, he also during this time is selling an album soon. I don't know if you knew this.
No.
He's promoting an album, and this
This
all
is the
lines
ultimate
in
awareness play, marketing campaign. This is organic content.
organic content. But we're gonna have to get into that later because I think we should wrap this bad boy up. It's been a really good ep, man.
We should have just talked about the Triller. Let's cut all the other stuff out. I really only want to talk about the Triller.
I only want to talk about Jake Paul. My girlfriend always ripped on. She was like, "When's the
Influencer
Disney
boxing.
fight tonight?" I'm like,
The
"God damn it!
Disney fight.
Fucking, why are you trying to make me look like an asshole?"
I
She's
love
like, yeah,
this.
when's Logan Paul fighting? I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. It was a pleasure. We'll be back next week. We got a couple guests lined up, very interesting guys in the NFT space. Also, we were going to have the director on from the music video. We're trying to reschedule that. Hopefully that can come to fruition. And it's going to be a really interesting conversation breaking down what it's like to, make a full music video short film and what that process looks like. But anyways,
Love it.
thanks, Mose. See you guys next week. Make sure to follow us on all platforms at RnR Podcast, including our YouTube channel. Get to see our pretty faces. And see you next week, guys. Ciao bello.
Love it.